Why, hello, I'm Chris Brogan. Welcome to 2016 Planning. This is our plan for helping you figure out how to put together your year. No matter when you start this, you could start this midway through the year. It doesn't matter. But this is how I do what I do, and this is how I think it might be helpful to you. And the real big goal I'm trying to come up with is to give you some really simple plans for your business success. So in this, I'm walking you through one way to put yourself through a system. And I find that a lot of times I think because we can rebel now, because we can say, I'm going to do it my way, we throw out some of the better parts of why systems exist. And so what we're going to do is implement some systems, and I'm going to walk you through one for planning out your year. Now, this won't be everything, but what it'll give you is enough information so that you can get started. Now, here's how this is going to work. There's a document, as you can see on the screen, that's also a downloadable that comes with this plan. You can make sure you download it. It's also clickable. There's some links to some stuff, so make sure you give it a look-see. We'll walk through all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like 9 sections. Pre-work, mission, primary goal, wins, approach, all that. We'll get right through it. So, let's start with pre-work. When we are planning, we need to use a calendar. I am of the strong mindset that if you don't have a calendar, if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't get done. And I have my calendar through Google Calendar. I have it all set up so that it starts Monday through Sunday. These are choices. I have a couple different views I use. I use monthly when I'm planning, and I do 2 weeks when I'm trying to work through the existing day. I almost never look at daily, and the reason is because I need you and me to keep looking at sort of a bigger mindset. So start with a calendar. Now you could definitely use a paper calendar if you want. There's a lot of them. I just interviewed Mike Vardy a little while ago from Productivityist, and he has a wall calendar that is so great. And I might give that a thought as well too, especially because I like using paper a lot. I'll get to that in a minute. But you need a calendar of some kind. So if it's better for you, if you want, you can always just pause this and just start, getting all these things together, or you can download this document and do the pre-work before you start. So whatever's going to work best for you. You're going to want maybe some kind of project management app. Now, what we use at Owner Media is we use something called Trello. So Trello is, oh shoot, I wonder which one it is. I think I did it under my own name instead of the company. Trello is a project managing software. There are tons of project managing softwares out there. What I like about Trello is it makes really simple cards and tabs and things like that. Now, why do you need a project management software? Because you're going to want to try to remember your projects and your tasks. Now, I will tell you that there's a couple different ways to do that, and there's a paper way to do it as well. Some people like that. Some people like apps. It's up to you. Don't say to yourself, I must do it this way or that way. There's only a few times where I'll say to you, here's why you might do this not in paper. Okay. You're going to need some kind of tasking app, or you might want a tasking app. I can see myself using Trello for tasking, even though it's, built also for project management, because it's the same. You can make it work like a to-do list. So it's not like you can't do that. I think it's worth checking out and thinking about. I also, in this process, want you to keep mantras, meaning sort of short things to remind yourself about your self and your life that are going to make it work a little bit better for you. I use Google Keep for that. So mantras, here's one, you are loved, nothing is going on, be here, redirect, park it all, whatever. My first ring, this is back from my Owner's Path days, thrive in the present, master my emotions, orient, execute on training. These kinds of mantras help me work myself through processes and things and thoughts. And I use these mantras every single day. I read through them. I have newer ones now. Those ones I showed you were just some examples, but I have some newer ones. I read them every day, and I start my day with this. And as part of our 20-minute plan, remember that? What happens is I start with this because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my mindset in order before I allow anyone else to take over my mind. When you allow email to be the first thing you read every morning, that's someone else's mindset. You read the news, you read Facebook, you check out Twitter. Anytime you don't put your mindset first, you are allowing another mindset to get in the way. I can't tell you how many times in the old days, email I would read something, someone would say something mean, and I would start the day off in a really sour mood. Why did that happen? It happened because I was in a scenario where I should have really paid attention and not done that sort of a thing. All right, so I've got mantras. Now you're going to also want some brain storage. I use Evernote for that sort of a thing. I think Evernote is a great little app for brain storage. And when I say brain storage, you can use this to write down names and thoughts and ideas and contact information. Evernote is great for this because you could set up notes inside a notebook and then stacks of notebooks, and there's all different things you can do with that. And so I think that using something like Evernote as an off brain, as a place to sort of remember the things you need to remember, is a very useful thing. I've got journal stuff. I've got all kinds of journal notes where I have to write myself little bits of information so that I don't forget them or anything like that. So it's all kinds of stuff where I want you to put that in your brain storage. Still in the pre-stage part of things, the preparation and pre-work, we're going to use your 20-minute plan wins document. This is this document. You haven't seen it before, but I'm telling it to you as if you have. This is what you can print. And so I don't have mine right here with me, but I have a 3-ring binder and I've got a whole stack of these because I use these daily to use a paper version of doing my planning and all that. And this wins document we'll go over in great detail in a bit, but you're going to want to get those ready. You might want to print a bunch, put them in a 3-ring binder. I say paper, and I also say an egg timer. And when I say egg timer, I mean it. I've got this cute little ladybug egg timer. I've got a link to where you can get your own little ladybug egg timer. She makes a... Now, there's lots of digital timers. There's timers on your phone. I can tell you what, we don't react the same way we do to something physical. That little dingy ding sound somehow makes us act a little differently than apps and screen things and whatever. Now, if you're in a scenario where you can't make noises or something, you could choose not to use that method, but I think it's really worth checking out. Next up, we're going to talk about mission. So like I said, we started with pre-work, but now we're going to get into mission because this is where it gets really important. So let's start talking about mission. Anything done without a mission is bound to be small tasks that feel satisfying but aren't really the bigger picture. The problem is that when we think a bigger picture, we tend to get a little too lofty and too weird, and our head goes out of control because we don't really understand what we're trying to accomplish with it, or we don't understand what the scope or parameter is. Stephen Covey talked a lot about put first things first. And he started with the idea that after you figure out that you're proactive, you have to begin with the end in mind. This is how he did the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a good way to look at things. A lot of times, some number of people who have connected with me have said, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be. But I bet you might know who you want to help. The problem is, here's where it gets crazy right away. We let fear get in the way, or we let our wants and our desires kind of stand in a weird way, or our pleasure. We want our pleasure to be the thing that drives our mission. Missions don't necessarily drive pleasure directly. So I'm using very primal type words: fear, pleasure. These are the 2 forces in our life that dictate almost every single thing we do. We want things that give us pleasure. We avoid things that make us afraid or that hurt us. Pain, pleasure, right? We want certain mixes, really strange, alchemies of these things. But that means that we tend to like to do the things that we feel satisfied doing. Maybe you like answering email and keeping an inbox 0. You do not get awards for inbox 0 except from people who think that's the number one thing to do. With avoiding pain, of course we want to avoid pain, but sometimes we have to endure discomfort to get to this larger win. So with a mission, we have to kind of put our heads into this idea of how are we going to get this done, and what is this? What is our big purpose? We might not know, but I often suspect that we do. I'll give you some examples. I am not and haven't really officially been a marketer in the official sense. I have no marketing degree. I have never worked for some agency. I have consulted and have been considered one of the top 10 marketers on the web for years, and I'm not really a marketer. What do I think I do? I think I try to help people with personal leadership, business development, business advisory type stuff. And I got there from a million years ago, just saying the same sort of thing, which is, how come we have to do it the way it's been done? And why does this happen this way and all that? And where it led me personally is it led me down this path of figuring out that I just wish we could treat people better. I wish we could treat my mom better. You know, I judge a lot of what I do based on how people treat my mom. When Overstock.com didn't do the right thing, I learned a lot about that. And so I think about, how do we make business run a little better? And then I think, how do I make it run better for me on my side as someone who wants to do this kind of work? So as an owner, I think of it as also, if I were the employee, what would I want? That's kind of how I got where I went, but that's me. So the first thought you might have in your head is, who do you serve? Now, what you want to get into with thinking about this is you want to think, who do I serve that I really want to help? I've talked to people who have said, my patients are medical device salespeople. And I say, oh, do you like that sort of work? Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was this brand new device that came out that helped regulate insulin, and it helped my father live longer, and he had a great life because he had this insulin regulator. And I love to sell medical devices, and I love to help the people who do. That's awesome. That's a great deal. My grandfather sold candy for a living. He loved candy. He sold candy. Now, my grandfather didn't eat candy every day. He didn't have jars of it throughout the house. The only candy that he brought in the house was usually for us kids. But he was a candy salesman because he loved the work of helping mom and pop stores. And that was where his mission lay. If he had been asked, do you want to go to work selling, in the big corporate division? Do you want to sell to big stores like Walmart's or something? He would have said no. And so it's your work to do, but you have to ask yourself the question, who do I serve? Now, the answer, I don't know, is fair, but then who would you feel the most comfortable serving? That's what you're going to try to get at. Who would I feel the most comfortable serving? And then once you figure it out, why am I doing it? A lot of people love that book, Start With Why. And it's not a bad book. I think it's wonderful, and Simon's a good person, whatever. But why? I've always thought of why as kind of a privileged question in a lot of cases. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I'd like to pay my bills and I would like to pay the mortgage. But there is some level of why, because we do a lot of things out of fear. And, why? Because if I lose this job, then my family's going to be homeless. It's not always true, is it? If I don't do this, then what else am I going to get? If I don't do this, then my resume will look bad. Do you know what? My resume, I can't even imagine what it would look like if I spent the time trying to write it out. It's amazing in some ways, and it would be abysmal if I were trying to just be some faceless employee in some organization. So our answers to why become really important, and you have to do some pretty serious work to do this. Now, you can skip all these steps. I know someone watching this video right now is like, I'm gonna fast forward and get to the tech stuff. It's not about the tech stuff. It's about the mission. So, who do I serve and why am I doing it? And then what do I know how to do? This one, I always think of it as the little drummer boy. I have no gifts to bring, right? Do you remember that song, The Little Drummer Boy? It's supposed to be about the birth of Jesus, and he comes along and he drums, and this is his thing. I know how to drum. Well, then drum. That's what he wants, right? So it's kind of like in biblical stuff, it's all about, everyone's welcome, everyone's invited, no gift is too small, you're doing it, for love. I think that's beautiful with or without the Bible story part. And I think that you have to sort of find what your drum playing is. You have to find, what do you know how to do that is helpful? But then I have to explain to you, the triangle. It's what you know how to do, the people you know how to serve, and will they pay for that thing you know how to do? I have people say to me things like, I just want to read books. Isn't there some job where I could read books? Proofreader, and then you would hate reading books. It's not a glamorous job. It's a very low dollar job, and it's a very unpleasant job. However, there's people who turn it into something, right? I want to be a book reviewer, someone might say. Well, okay, except there's a million reviewers. We all have the internet now. Amazon pretty much suffices. So you've got to look through, what do I know how to do that someone might be willing to pay for? And do I know those kinds of people who are willing to pay for it? The other kind of category that a lot of people reach out to me with is, I have this really great idea. I know you've worked with Disney. Can you connect me with Disney? First off, no, I can't. Second off, that's not how the process works. Disney doesn't go, oh, I really hope someone with a good idea rings the phone. Or I've been sitting around hoping for a good idea today. No, you got to be able to bring something to the picnic. And if you have no skills, then pick up some skills. It's not tremendously hard. Just pick anything. It doesn't matter what. Just learn something. Learn to write better. Learn to speak better. Learn to communicate. Learn to do great accounting. Be a chiropractor. There's a million things you could do for the world. You have to pick that path. You have to choose that. But once you know what that is, you got to figure out the path that gets you there and how you can make this part of your mission. I tell people all the time, it's not just about the money, but you have to pay the bills, right? This is so important. I had a lot of people pursue their passions around me, starting around 2005, 2006, 2009. And I saw all of them lose their lives. They had to go back to work. They had to go find a day job because passion isn't a business plan. And so that's part of why I do what I do, is because my mission is to give you simple plans for business success. So I know what I'm doing. And I changed that mission because I saw all my friends running out of money. I saw you running out of money and worrying about it and not having time. And I wanted to teach you how to stop trading hours for dollars. So that's why I went the way I did. Now, once you have your mission, you've got to move that from mission to goal, because if you don't have goals, then you're not really necessarily going to execute on the mission or grow it. Now, let's just one more second about mission. Write down anything for right now and then just start working on refining it. I will tell you that the kind of consulting I've done over the last several months, the repeated storyline that I keep saying to people is you've got to tighten it up, not niche. Don't think niche. Don't think I'm only going to serve people from India who make over $1 million and who are named Surya, right? Like, you're not trying to find some random demographic. You're trying to say, who are my people and what are they like? My people are a little irreverent. They may or may not be from some kind of, they believe in people. They love people. They think communication is important. They like to be entertained. They understand that perfect is not exactly useful to anybody. Those are the kinds of people who I attract. And I think that I also attract people who want to do it a different way and want to do it their way. Now, that's me. Who do you attract? Let's make your mission around them. Now, once you have a mission down, you've got to have a primary goal. And the goal is sort of, what's the embodiment of that mission? How does this goal serve other people and how does it serve you? I'll give you an example. I want to have 1,000 owner insiders. I want 1,000 people to be in the owner insider group. And the reason is because I know that I can help those people. And at any one time, if I had 1,000 people working on developing and growing themselves, every time they invest that $100 that it costs to be a part of that group, it's going to hugely blossom into more revenue and more success for them. I'm seeing these kinds of testimonials every day. So I know with all my heart that if I serve 1,000 people there, it is going to be great. But what does that do to serve me? Well, 100 times 1,000 equals 100,000 a month. Times 12 months is $1.2 million. That is a pretty decent reason to do business, right? Your goals have to serve other people. I led with what it serves. I led with how I want to help people. You can see that I'm excited about helping other people. And then I explain what's in it for me, right? If it's $100 out of your pocket and you make $5,000 from the information, then that's a great investment for you. If this is what sustains my business and allows my employees and other people that I work with to have a life, this is how business works. Welcome to business. How does the goal serve others? How does it serve you? And it has to be a concrete goal. I said 1,000. I said it for a reason. 1,000 is a great number, right? How does this, once we make it concrete, that's great. So then on my other goals, like as I go down a little further, I have metrics to try to make it. How do I get to that 1,000? That's, that'll be approach, right? But we'll get there. Some people, when we talk about goals, immediately say, have you heard of SMART goals? Yes, I've read several hundred books. I know about SMART goals. You can do it. What SMART stands for is simple, measurable, attainable, I can't remember, R, and T is tested or something like that. So, or time bound. T is also time bound. So Please don't send me an email. I don't care. I can Google. But SMART goals are one way to do goals. You could do that. It's not helped me. You could hear a little derision. It's just not a tool that really serves me well. All right, wins. One of the other things I talk about at Owner Now all the time is putting more wins on your board. The reason I came up with this is, strangely enough, from video game culture. I don't know if you play anything. You maybe play Angry Birds. Maybe you play Zynga Texas Hold'em Poker. Maybe you play Destiny. Maybe you play Halo, Call of Duty, whatever you play. If you play any video games ever, if you play games ever, what's exciting is small victories that then lead to bigger victories. Once you get better at chess, once you start learning, oh, I can use the knight fork, and so I have this mindset of this tool with the knight. Wins are what drive us to get excited to do more things. And what I've started to realize is that we are not setting up our world with wins very often. What do diet people teach you all the time? 1 to 2 pounds a week, period. 1 to 2 pounds a week. If you're going to lose weight, think in your head 1 to 2 pounds. Why? Because then every time you get on the scale, you go, wow, I lost 2 pounds. Wow, I lost a pound. Oh, I didn't lose anything. I got to tighten that up, right? It's a metric. It might not even be a great metric. If I'm losing muscle tone because I'm not eating enough, I'm losing weight. I'm just losing weight I don't want to lose, right? So you've got to find the right metric. But they should just be simple. They should be straightforward. I'll tell you, on my daily win sheet right now, I have some really simple ones like, complete 10 emails. Now, when I say this, I get hundreds of emails a day. I respond really fast to a lot of emails, but then there's always emails that get stuck. And they get stuck because I have to take an action that's a little bit more than, hey, Chris, what do you think of this? Or here's my idea. So I have one detail that just says 10 emails, right? That's a metric. It's a win. When I get the 10 done, I go celebrate. I celebrate by going out for a jog, or I say, oh, it's gym time now. I can go do the thing I want to do. Put some wins out there. But they've got to be really simple and they have to be straightforward. 10% growth. I'm going to grow my email list. One of my goals, 10% growth. There you go, right? Maybe you want to make $3,000 more a month. Make the metric match what you want. So you've started with mission. You've got to goals. Now you're at wins. Now you need an approach. How are you going to get there? What brings you that win? And so, it's really simple. It's just got to be specifics. It's very tactical. So for instance, one of my approaches to getting more people on my newsletter list are content upgrades. We've talked about those in other plans, so go back and take a look at those. But understand that what I'm looking at is if I use content upgrades, it's one way to get wins. The other is to ask friends, hey, do you think I could get in front of your list and see if there's some kind of synergy here? Want to do something together? Is there some kind of partnership? Those are the approaches. And that way, if I do 1 or 2 of those every single week, I should get closer to my goal. What's nice is that if I say do 2 of these a week, and I say I want 10% growth, if I don't get 10% growth, I have one measure, one lever to move. Do you see how this starts to get really simple? Think about that one just for a minute. You are trying to figure out what's not working in your business and you're looking at 100+ things. I'm looking at 2. That's it, right? You want that. So approach is that. So after approach are considerations. I've got to remember this. I need to do more of this. Watch my hours. Some people come up with these ideas like if I can make $5,000 more a month, and I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to sell it, and it's going to be $10, and it's going to take me an hour each. So you're making $10 an hour is what you're saying. 5,000 more a month, it's going to be a lot of hours extra work, right? So you better come up with a different plan. So considerations are, what do I need to remind myself? What kinds of things do I need to take care of so that I don't find myself, no happier, right? So the idea of wins, by the way, think about this. Think month to month. When you do a review of what you've done, when you start to plan, month to month, think about what wins are like, right? You could start mapping together all the wins you've had to allow you better confidence. This is going to give you much more motivation to do what you're doing. And if things aren't working, because approach gave you fewer levers, you are in the catbird seat because you have fewer things to mess around with. And if, by the way, you're just not doing it because you're not motivated, then maybe you're way back at mission because maybe you don't have the right mission. Maybe you're not serving the right people. These tools work with each other. And when I say tools, perspectives. If you print this document and look at it, if you take a blank piece of paper right beside yourself and you do it much more like a mind map and you say, let me get a blank sheet of paper here. You do a mind map and you say, okay, what's my mission? And what goals do I need to get to it? And what's my, what are the wins for that? What's my approach? And you might find yourself, and I'm just writing it sort of like this, right? As you jot little notes and squiggles and things on a piece of paper, which is not software, and it's really important, I mean paper, because your mind works differently when we're doing kinesthetic things. If you have the physical capabilities to write, then write. What'll happen is you start to see a much simpler system all around what you're going to do for this coming year. And this is going to allow you to work on things a little better. Do you ever feel like it's just magically the year's gotten away from you? What if you had tools set up to help you not wonder where everything went? If you fail, you'll know why. You'll say, oh, I didn't do 2 content upgrade projects a week. No wonder I didn't get 10% growth. That's all. And I will stress this. I'm going to show you too again and again and again. Your day is your week, is your month, is your year. Right now, I'm working on a diet that most people would love. It's high fat, high protein, very low carb. So I just made myself steak. I have 2 slices of bacon on top of the steak, and I've got a whole bunch of green vegetables, right? So that's a delicious meal. The reason I eat this today is because I would like to lose some weight, and that weight is not going to get there if I go switching my diet around. Whatever my work is today, whatever goes past my lips today is why I weigh what I weigh. That plus the gym, right? 80% diet, some people say, and 20% gym. I have to do the work or I'm not going to get the result down the road. People say, I want to make $1 million a year. I say, great, that's $84,000 a month, $22,000 a week. Now what? And they usually kind of go, or $21,000 a week. It doesn't matter. Math is hard. The minute they hear they're going to make $21,000 a week, they back off. They go, I don't know how to do that. Well, you've got to do this part to see that part, okay? So considerations, I've got to remember this. I've got to put these considerations in place. Right from there, we go to some of the most important part of this after you've got your mission all put together, are resources. What tools do I have? Well, look at my business. My tools are that, I've got a lot of topics and a lot of ideas. I did a survey where I asked people all kinds of questions. I said, hey, what are your priorities? What's holding you back? And this is giving me all kinds of resources that I can work from. People are saying, I'll believe in myself. I'll deliver on my promise. I'll replace my day job salary with new business revenues. I'll do international growth. I'll figure out what I'm best at. So I have all kinds of resources that I put in place to start getting me information for what I can create. So now I can create products around that. So what do you have that you're selling? Again, let's go back to money for a second. What are you selling? Is it a product? Is it a service? Is it your time? How much of it do you have? Do you even know the inventory of what you have to offer? We talked about this in 20-minute plan. We talked about this with the mortgage math, right? What's the inventory you have and how much of this product can you put out a month? No matter if you are selling little egg timers or your time, you need to know the cost per unit, the inventory, and the time. These are really simple. Don't get panicked. It's all simple. If you are charging X for a project, if you know that X takes you Y hours, then it's got to be a matter of that divided by that equals, and that's how much you make. You've got to count overhead. You've got to count all this other stuff. We talk about that more in 20-minute plan. So if you haven't watched it again, just go back, push play, download the document, and follow along. Resources though, Now, other things to think about with resources, who do I know? Right? So I said to you in my growth plan for 10%, I thought, who do I know that I can ask to get in front of their community? Who can I work with? Who can I partner with? That's one of those things. I just got approached yesterday. Do I want to have advertising on my podcast? And I said, well, I'm open to it. And I'll see how that works. But that's because a friend of mine that I've known for years was saying, who do I know who might want this service? You know how they say it's not what you know, it's who you know? That's totally true. What am I missing? What's finite? Finite is hours. We always treat, I say this a lot too, we tend to treat money as if it's finite and time as if it's infinite. It's the other way around, right? Now we move on to power-ups. And here I am using video game language again, but power-ups are what are going to help me grow. How can I improve my capabilities and connections? And what am I doing to grow my potential client base? That third one is really important, but we'll get to it. what will help me grow? Going to the gym makes me stronger. Eating better is going to help me look a little bit better and feel a little bit better. I like that steak and bacon is on my menu today. I'm commenting about it a lot because I just cooked it and I would like to eat it. So what else is going to help me grow? Learning not to say when I'm recording is going to make my videos better. Getting better lighting is going to help me. Taking a class. I went to StoryBrand with Donald Miller and learned tons. John Nemo put me through his LinkedIn Riches training, and I was like, oh, I finally get LinkedIn, right? I invest in myself because that is the best money I can spend to grow my business. So what's going to power me up? What kinds of capability growth and connection growth can I make? And am I growing my client base? I said I want 1,000 people in Insider. I don't have 1,000 yet. I've got to work on that. So am I growing my client base? How am I doing that? So in my case, I speak, I write books. There's lots of other ways for you to get in front of people. Who can you partner with? What groups or organizations should you connect with versus what shouldn't you? And then I have wins at the bottom again. So I have wins up at the top saying, what are they? And then at the bottom, for our planning purposes, for 2016 calendar planning, pure measurements and metrics, basic math, mortgage math, plan measurements too, and also review. So let's pretend we're going to put together our 2016, right? So let's move to 2016. Why don't I say that, we start looking at a whole month. And so what I start thinking is, what activity in a week is going to give me some better work? And then I start saying, how do I put this into my calendar? So whatever goes in my calendar, I actually take a look at. Don't say that, Ron, don't tell him otherwise. But what I do also is I have to then map all of this in a couple different ways. So let's say, for instance, I know that every single week, I'm going to do 2 of these plans every single month, right? So I might look right now and I go, okay, I've got a John Corcoran webinar there, so I'm not going to be able to do anything there. So I'm going to say hold webinar and hold webinar. So now, and I'm saying webinar, but this is now what we call plans, but for calendar purposes, I'm just sticking it in there for now. And you can put whatever you want. And so then I might go, oh, okay, so I have to do my content marketing stuff as well. I'm going to make sure that on Mondays, which is one of my best days, content upgrade. I'm going to do that weekly, I think. Content upgrade. Content upgrade. Happy birthday, Dr. King. And also Robert Scoble. Content upgrade. Now, one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in monthly review. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 content upgrades and a monthly review. So now you see I'm starting to put together my calendar. Now, who am I putting it together for? Me. My processes, my business, because other stuff's going to go on your calendar that you can't control. And what I always tell people is that you can't control everything that goes on in your life. Absolutely. Nobody can. But I'll tell you a couple of things you can do with regards to scheduling, with regards to your calendar. One thing you're going to start with is the idea that you never schedule a day more than 40%. Even on days of mine that look super duper busy. Let me go to a particular day here. This day that looks super busy, what's actually on the calendar is, Chris gets picked up by the limo to the airport. Chris, 2-hour travel cushion. Chris is flying. Chris lands. That's it. It's travel day. Everything else on the calendar is all mine. Coffee with Kevin, 10 a.m. 2 p.m., go to the hotel. 2:30, meet and greet at the event that I'm going to be at. 4:15, speech. So I've got it laid out. So I really, for that day, I've got coffee with a guy named Kevin. I think I'm going to meet another guy named David. I have a speech. I have a meet and greet. And then I've got to ride back to the hotel. That's the only thing on my calendar for that day. You see how this starts to make sense? Like, I don't schedule a lot of things because then I'm going to add to that. Can I work on my content upgrade? Can I get working on stuff that I'm going to make in a video for you? What can I do to help you in those spots? And I only schedule every single day to 40%. 40%, it turns out, can be as little as, out of 8 hours, it's about 3, right? So What I try to do is work from that. So I'm going to transition into our 20-minute plans wins document, which also comes a bit from the 20-minute plan video, but it's grown a little bit more. So now let's walk through this document. This is something that you can use daily. You might consider using weekly. I tend to want to look at it daily, but I think sometimes, I let it go a couple days. Rob Hatch does one every single day, no matter what. So if he doesn't fill it all the way through or something like that, he'll just switch to the next day. And Rob does that. We've done this project called Work Like You're on Vacation for a long time. And that is sort of where that comes from. So we start with the focus, right? So what's your mission? So I'm going to say, serve 1,000 owners in the Insider program. Actually, that's not my mission. That's my goal, right? So my mission is to provide simple plans for business success. Except I would write this with pen. Why with pen? Because kinesthetic learning, it reminds us. Don't make it simple. You know why also though? If your mission is too hard for you to write out every day, then it's not the right mission. Your mission should be really simple. The battle for Ramadi, the mission was, what was it? Secure, clear, hold, and build. That was the battle for Ramadi, at least from the perspective of special operators in Navy SEALs Task Unit Bruiser. So secure, clear, hold, and build. Secure an area, clear it of all the bad people, and hold it so that you have the territory, and then build, meaning, okay, now let's go get the next one, right? Reinforce it, and then go get the next one. You want your mission to be really simple. Then goals are, 100% safety in that case, no casualties or whatever, bring everybody home. Your goals are also whatever else you want to add to that, least amount of gunplay, blah, blah, blah. So, yours are obviously going to be a little different than a Navy SEAL, but you want to make your goals, really clear. So I wonder if I have my document, right? Easy to find. I think I have written in some goals. So let's see. Where did I put it? 1,000 insiders by the end of 2016 and more newsletter subscribers. So that's what I have. So I want 1,000 owners so my mission to help 1,000 owners put more wins on their board. My goal is 1,000 insiders by the end of 2016 via more newsletter subs. And what's my approach? So going back to your document, what's your approach going to be? How are you going to get there? Then if you took 20-minute plan, you'll remember the 351K, which by the way, Jacqueline pointed out something really useful. She said, this looks like 351,000. So I'm going to do it like that. There we go. I just changed the form with you. So mantras. What are your mantras? I told you a little bit about those. Basically, they're a series of things you want to say to yourself. They're going to kind of put you in a good mindset. They could be affirmations. They could be reminders. It's just going to set your mind in order. That's 5 minutes. Remember how this works is the 20-minute plan is the first 10 minutes of your day are set at doing your mantras, making sure your goals and tasks match your calendar, and then making sure that at the end of the day, you do your measure and next. That's the other, 351K review, and then measure and next. When I say 351K, here's what I mean. What are 3 hours that you can devote to anything? Now, Rob and I do this slightly different. Rob does his where it's 30-minute projects. It's funny because it kind of works the same way, but I didn't engineer this to be true. So 30-minute projects, 20-minute projects, and 10-minute projects. The way I do it is I break up 3 hours into three 20-minute blocks each. So I make 9 20-minute blocks, but Rob does his is 3:30s, 3:20s, 3:10s. If you look at it, that's still 3 hours, right? So you could do it either way. So in what I do in those, what I put in those, let's pretend it's any given day for me. And remember, your world is so different than my world. So it could be whatever, but this is the stuff that you have to do that's going to build and grow your business. That isn't just handling people's problems or whatever. If you're a chiropractor, this isn't where you put in, I have 5 adjustments today. This is where you put in, research, local ads. And I do this on paper, by the way. I'm typing right now because I'm on the screen, but I do this written down with my pens. When I say research, local ads, I might get even more specific. Call Barney at paper, and maybe there's some local newspaper. I'm making it up because I would not use local ads, but whatever. So you put down what are you going to do for those 3 20-minute blocks each. Now they don't have to be concurrent. This is the other thing. You just have to work 3 hours on your project. So if you've got meetings scheduled all day, block them wherever you can get them. But that's, again, we go back to the calendar and we stick in 20-minute spots where we do what we're doing, right? So these, however, your 3 hours must match what you said you're going to do in your approach, which is going to get towards your goals, which should help you accomplish your mission. Do you see how that works? The 3 hours is your day, is your week, is your month, is your year. This is how you get there. So you want this to be probably the most important part of that document, except for the upper right corner, which is your wins. Mindset and reminder stuff. Now, in there, I've put some of my thoughts about, what I'm going to do, some of my approaches, some stuff I need to remember for the day sometimes. Just really basic remember, like, you know what? I'll tell you what should go in there right now. I have a couple of checks that I got to go to the bank and put in there. So I should probably, have a reminder on mine today that says, go to the bank, you dumbass. So that's what goes there. What goes next is not to do, your not to do list. So mine says Facebook, Twitter, and leave email on. And what I'm trying to do is always cutting out the things that are taking up a lot of my time and attention when they shouldn't be. So I blocked out the tabs here, but if you saw them, the tabs only have survey results, Google Keep, this document, the last document, and Trello. That's a change for me. It used to have Facebook. It used to have Hootsuite. It used to have a lot more social networks running. It's not changing my business anymore, so I'm not using it as often. I still go there, just not like a drug. So that's on my not to-do list. And then measure and next, that's what you're supposed to do at the end of the day. And there's two reasons why this is important. So the measure is, how did I do during my day today? How did I do going after my goals? And if you didn't accomplish them, why? You've got to know what got you into trouble, what stopped you from getting it all done. And that's important to write down. But also the next part, this is a lifesaver. This is where you jot down those things you want to remember right before you're falling asleep. Or, oh yeah, tomorrow I got to remember to do this. That goes in next. And then next transfers onto your next sheet. The other part of the sheet is a really simple part, and see how there's a big section for remember on it. It's just projects, tasks, and remembering. If you don't want to use project software, I showed you Trello. If you don't want to use that, I use paper sometimes too. Rob does paper too. So Rob keeps his tasks on paper and just copies them by hand over. One reason he does this, it's a super smart reason, that's why he's so smart about all this stuff, is that if he has to copy something over a bunch of times, he either gets so bothered doing it that he just finishes the task, or there's something holding him back and he gets to work on it. Do you notice how everything we're working on is built to help you fix a lot of the roadblocks that you have? That's the goal. So now you've got this sheet and you want to print this sheet. I do like 30 at a time. So, I don't have a printer in my house. I just go to Staples. I get it done for a couple of pennies a piece. I don't do them in color, even though there's a little bit of color. I say it's okay to do black and white. But what's beautiful is then I just hole punch them, stick them in my little binder, and I'm good. The other kind of fun thing is I can go back and look at them. Imagine having a record of your year to let you look at how you did. And if you are failing, or if you start to abandon this, that's telling you something. But I tell you what I'm doing with the Owner Insiders is that we're going to do some stuff to keep you active on this all the time. So you'd have to really work at ignoring me if you don't want to make this work, because I'm going to nag you the way you've always wanted. I'm going to help you be accountable the way you've always wanted. And if you've never wanted that, I don't know. You can ignore me. But I'm going to try really hard to make your planning for years to come all work out. So with this 2016 planning, what I wanted to do and give you were a whole set of tools that you can use your own way if you want. You can cannibalize this. If not all of this makes sense or not all of this works for you, you can cannibalize it. I can tell you this though, I made it for some very specific reasons. And so you might want to try it a little bit first before you start messing with it, because you might want to understand that this is going to get you where you want to go, or at least that's my premise. Now, as always, you can send me email, chris@owner.media, and talk about this. If you're one of the insiders, then you can go to our private group or our private Slack. And if not, you can even ask around the secret team if anyone else has been part of this 2016 planning. It's only available to insiders and unlimited people. So by all means, ask away, but you might not see as many people talking about this one because we made it private for you. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Chris Brogan. I hope this helps, and I'm looking forward to an amazing 2016 with you.